Drivers, start your engines. Listening to the fastest show on HAAS Sports Radio. My name is Darryl Kinsey Jr., and I'm welcoming you to take another lap of Inches per Mile for today, March the 4th, 2021. Well, good evening, everyone. I hope you had a great day. We got another good race weekend coming up towards us. NASCAR heads out to Sin City for 3 races in Las Vegas. The F1 season is getting closer. The IndyCar season is too. And as the temperatures get warmer, the racing action gets even hotter as we get close to that spring leap when many series get underway. And to help me talk about all of that, well, joining me is the one, the only, Michael Ward. Michael, good afternoon, or good evening, rather.
Good evening. Oh, God, really. Good afternoon, everyone. How's everybody doing? I'm sorry, there's like reverb going in. Oh, there, it stopped. Thank you.
Yeah. That is an issue with the software. Sometimes that happens when we're using Voicemeeter, and Skype really doesn't do it for the other systems, which again is just a thanks Skype type of thing. That's what we're using to communicate here. But how have you been, man? How's your week been?
And let me tell you, you ever watch a race and then realize that it really does take time for drivers to develop their skills? Because, just watching William Byron, a driver that I really didn't think a long time ago, just go up there and improve and do well again. Mm-hmm. Racing really is a development thing. And then it's not even just the driver sometimes. Sometimes it's just the driver and, maybe the team, maybe the crew chief, maybe the car, maybe the setup. It just kind of just taught me, how sometimes you need to change certain aspects of your environment to get better results. So I've just been trying to learn how to change certain things to better improve, my work results.
Yeah, and as we've seen, it takes a little bit for race car drivers at the top level to develop, even when they come through the lower ranks. Just because they get to the Cup Series doesn't mean a driver has stopped developing. They still have to then learn how to run at the Cup level. I've had to learn that doing the CNS Bureau that I've done. I've learned how to write articles, but now I've got to learn to write articles at this level that major papers are going to start picking it up. So I understand that completely.
Yeah, and you've heard the term, you got to hit the ground running. I don't think that's the case. I think hitting the ground and understanding the ground that you're on is definitely the best way to move forward when it comes to racing and in just life.
Yep. And before we continue, I know you only hear 2 voices right now. Usually you would hear a third, Christopher Lehman. Christopher is not going to be with us for the next couple of weeks because something a bit more important than racing just took place in his life. And I can say that we now officially have a front row for the IE Sports Radio Baby Grand Prix as Christopher Lehman welcomed young son Henry to the world a couple of days ago, actually yesterday. Baby and mother are doing great, and we just want to say congratulations to Christopher and the entire Lehman family, and we cannot wait to be inundated by all of the adorable baby pictures.
Definitely can't wait. And fun fact, I just found out this was a thing in the NASCAR community. He was born on apparently Dale Earnhardt Day, 3/3/2021.
Yep, they made Dale Earnhardt Day after, unfortunately, Dale Earnhardt's passing. So another great birthday. Congratulations to Christopher Lehman and everyone here at HAAS Sports Radio. I want to send our well wishes to that entire family. And we can, again, do not skimp on the baby pictures. We like baby pictures here, okay? And I don't care if I'm a guy. Babies are adorable. I don't want to hear it. Anyway, so let's get into the show. And we can start with, of course, Taryn and Larry are with us in the chat. Hello, fellas. Let's go ahead and get started. And I guess we can start with that Dixie Vodka 400 because that's what Michael started talking about. And the winner, William Byron, picks up the victory there in Homestead, Miami. And this is the third race back with crew chief Rudy Fugle. Those two worked together in the Truck Series when William Byron had that amazing 7-win season go for naught. And as I talked about on 2Y Tuesday, sometimes, or not sometimes, all the time, crew chiefs and drivers have to be able to work together. And the partnership between a driver and his crew chief is extremely important. That crew chief has to be the cheerleader when things are going wrong. They have to be able to figure out what adjustments on the fly to help the car get better. They have to sometimes manage emotions, as you've seen some drivers get hot under the collar. See Kyle Busch ending up on Radioactive every other week. The crew chief job has evolved so much from a guy that just turns the wrenches. They're basically a cheerleader, and really like the head coach we see on an NFL team, they got to pull everybody together and make sure that they're still at the same level and working at peak efficiency, much like an NFL head coach has to do. So that partnership is extremely important. If it's a poor fit, they're not going to run well. But when it's a great fit, like a Jeff Gordon and a Ray Evernham, a Jimmy Johnson and a Chad Knaus, those type of partnerships, when those go well, you see great things happen. And Michael Rudy Fugle getting back with William Byron. They had success previously. Now they are moving ahead together in the Cup Series, and already partnerships borne fruit.
Yeah, it's definitely born earned results, and like we said at the beginning of the show, sometimes these changes have to be made in order for a driver to perform on track. And it definitely seems like both of them definitely got the performance out of the car.
Yeah, and that was a topsy-turvy race on Sunday. And Homestead, Miami is the best 1.5-mile track we have on the schedule. That progressive banking works to perfection at that racetrack, gives us 4 lanes of racing action. And you see it on the restarts, they're 3 and 4 wide. And even during the race, now that the pavement's starting to wear, all the lines are viable. If you're a little bit tight, there's a lane you can go to. If you're a little bit loose, you can move a little bit. You can move around the track. Look for where the car is going to be good to the condition that you're driving. It's also create a situation with the pavement wearing that you can run, or that tire wear is extremely important to how you handle the racetrack and how you manage your tires. Managing your tires at Homestead, Miami matters a lot. And we saw the guys that can hold on to the tires did well. The guys that are a bit rougher on their tires, they struggled on Sunday.
Yeah, they definitely struggled on Sunday, who were a bit more rough on their tires. I think they should have conserved their tires or just learn how to be more conservative on their tires, because they definitely couldn't, definitely struggled on the racetrack, Darryl.
Yep. And what was most surprising for me is to see Roush Fenway back at the front, even if it was for a limited time. And Chris Buescher ran up there during stage 1 and took the lead on pace. which was incredible to see because it's been a while since you've seen a Roush Fenway racing car get up there and lead on pace. And not only were both Roush Fenway cars in the top 10 in that first stage, all 4 Hendrick cars were in the top 10 during that first stage. It felt like I'd flashed back to 2006, which is the last time we really saw Roush Fenway and Hendrick going back and forth with each other. And you had those two teams in the top 10. It made it nostalgic. And even though, as Christopher, who's actually joined us in the chat here, said the Fords did fall off as the track cooled and the lights came on, it was still a good race for Roush Fenway Racing to show that they could be coming back to prominence, which would be great for a lot of us watching to see that team that at one time was the top Ford camp and struggled mightily now come back to prominence.
Yeah, it was definitely good to see him like up front. And like you said, it's been a while since Roush Fenway was competitive. There's been a few times where I always wondered what happened to Roush Fenway because it just seemed like they fell off a good while ago. But like I said, maybe they've made some changes too, and maybe they're going to start being a little bit more competitive here at the front.
Well, the question is, now that we've seen them run that way, at least for the first stage, and unfortunately Buescher fell far off, is that a blip or is that a sign of things to come? Because we've seen teams do this where they'll have a good run one week, and then they'll slide back to mediocrity, or they'll have a bad week one race and then come back up to the median where they were good. Roush Fenway has to build on this momentum this week and start bringing that team back, because it's been a while since a Roush Fenway car has been relevant. That's unfortunate to say, but they've fallen on hard times since the time that Mark Martin, Matt Kenseth, Carl Edwards and the like were running at that team. Sorry. It's been so long since they've run well that there's a generation of NASCAR fans that don't remember when that team used to rule the roost. And if they can come back into prominence, I think it would be great for the sport of NASCAR.
Yeah, I think it would be great too for the sport. Definitely more teams being competitive, making the playoffs more interesting. I think that would be a great way to get more people into the sport and get these ratings back up to what they used to be.
Yeah, we did see the ratings dip, which is unfortunate, but ratings have been dipping all over the sports world. But Tyler Reddick made a great run in the final stage of that race to come up to finish second. We ended on a long run at Homestead Miami Speedway, and that car showed some pace. A couple of laps more, and he could have ended up winning the race, but I would be watching RCR going forward because Tyler Reddick ran well, and so did Austin Dillon. That team has been on an upswing ever since Reddick got there last year. There were high hopes that Reddick could help bring that team into a rebirth, they said. He ran well here at Homestead Miami Speedway. He had some great runs last season. This could be the start of a RCR resurgence. And
again, that would be really good to see those guys running back up at the front. And they haven't really been the same since Kevin Harvick left. So seeing them back up at the front would be a great change of pace. And them and RCR, Joe Gibbs, Penske, and all these teams going back and forth for the wins, I think that'll make a great championship race for the far future.
Well, the sport is better when there's more teams involved in winning races and winning championships. Like, yes, Harvick and Hamlin were great battling each other last year, going win for win. However, there are a lot of guys that were left with, one or two wins to pick up. And then all of that fell apart when we get into the next to last round of the playoffs. Chase Elliott ends up winning. But we come into this season, we've had 3 winners that we had no idea were going to win races. Michael McDowell picked up a win in the Daytona 500. No one saw that coming. Christopher Bell wins a road course race that everyone and their mother said Chase Elliott was going to win. And then we have William Byron win here in Homestead Miami Speedway. That's 3 races, 3 surprise winners. Things are going to get real dicey for the playoff grid because a lot of those guys that we're used to seeing winning haven't won yet as we go into the Western Swing.
Yeah, they're going to start getting aggressive, and the people who want to win are going to start getting aggressive, and that means the battles are going to be really close coming to this Western Swing. So I'm looking forward to it, Darryl. I'm really looking forward to it.
I am as well. It's only a 2-race Western Swing this year with Las Vegas and Phoenix. Auto Club was supposed to be this weekend, but due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, that was unable to happen. But we do know that the usual suspects in NASCAR need to get aggressive if they want to get some wins. And if you want to get aggressive with your finances to get a win in 2021, check out Legacy Financial. Yes, the COVID pandemic put a big crimp on everyone's finances last year, but the folks at Legacy Financial can help you to be running on all cylinders once again. Give Andrew and Io a call at 510-928-2104 and schedule your consultation today. Thank you so much to Legacy Financial for sponsoring IE Sports Radio. Well, we'll be right back. When we come back, we're going to get into the Xfinity race from Homestead Miami Speedway, and Noah Gragson, well, he's got some learning to do. We'll talk about that on the other side of this break here on the Extra Mile on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hey guys, it's Blake Henley, better known as H-Town Blake to some of you. Happy to announce that Bases Loaded is back in full force. We'll be bringing that high heat every Tuesday night here on IE Sports Radio. So come home, get ready, dig into that batter's box, and see if you can chase that high heat, baby. So we'll be coming to you live with all the stats, all the rundowns, all the division rivalries, and every team that's going to make the playoff push to get to that one and only October and get to the pinnacle of what baseball is to hoist that Commissioner's Trophy when it's all said and done.
What's good, fight fans? It's your boy, Marcus Los Great, here to give you what you want, here to give you what you need. Yeah, man. Yeah. I'm coming to you live, straight from your mama's basement with a crispy, awesome white tea. We are coming to you live every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Here on the Extra Mile on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Darryl and Michael with you this evening. Christopher Lehman is on baby duty. He's in the chat right now. Hey, Christopher. Hope everything's doing well with the family, and congratulations on the birth of your son. Hope mom, mother, and baby are doing swell. Let's go ahead and get into this Xfinity race. And Noah Gragson, oh boy.
Like,
oh boy, where do I...
like that.
Where do I begin with this? Okay, so Noah Gragson, under 10 laps to go in this race, has a 9-second lead. He's already had a run-in with another lap car on the high line, and you would think that having a big lead like that, he would decide to take it easy. Noah Gragson did not decide to take it easy, and unfortunately it cost him, as David Starr, and I've never seen this happen in a race in my life, as the leader is coming, has the tire come apart on him into turn 3, gets into the wall just as Gragson is coming up behind him, and Gragson slams into the back of him, destroys the front of that car. For the third straight year, Gragson does not win at Homestead Miami Speedway, a track that he has run well at pretty much since he started in the top series of NASCAR. And Gragson is upset. He gets out the car, does the post-race interview, says some unkind things about David Starr. Okay, we get it. Heat of the moment. Fine. He then continues to talk about David Starr in MBM for the next 3 days. On Tuesday, he was still on Twitter talking about it and replying to people on Twitter that were talking about the incident, which drew the ire of a lot of fans and Motorsports Business Management, the team run by Carl Long, which we'll talk about how that team can get some payback in a bit. I'm going to start with the incident, and Michael and I were talking a little bit before the start of the show, and Michael, Noah Gragson has got speed, but there's a, for lack of a better word, maturity issue with this driver that he is not going to reach his full potential unless he can rein it in. He's had several incidents off the track and on it with other drivers. We don't mind the on-the-track incidents. The off-the-track is a different story, though.
Right, and it's it just kind of comes down to, I always kind of just bring it back to this, but it's just like, you know, in F1, for a good example, you know, they're taught to be, you know, PR kiddies, you know, just don't say anything that you don't need to say to the media. In NASCAR, they're kind of unfiltered, so, you know, sometimes people just kind of say what they want in NASCAR, but, you know, Noah Gragson, I don't want to be there because, you know, it obviously sucks having a victory that was there for you just gets, you know, not stolen, but, you know, just things happen.
Oh,
and,
absolutely.
You know,
like,
yeah,
I get it. You tried to win at this racetrack several times, couldn't get it done, but you're now going into, it's Thursday now, going into a race on Saturday, and there's a feeling that I have that this is still eating at him, what happened last Saturday, and this could cost him coming into this week if he's not focused. I get it. Race car drivers have to have long memories because, especially here in NASCAR, they like to pay people back sometimes. But for situations like this, you got to have 24 hours to be mad and then move on. You can't continue to allow it to eat at you. You have other chances to win. You have other races that you have to compete in. And continuously going onto social media and trashing a team that, by the way, was not multiple laps down during the incident. David Starr was on the lead lap when they lost that tire, having a great run in underfunded equipment. It's unfortunate that it happened, but it's even more unfortunate that Gragson, and I'm sorry if I keep mispronouncing it, Gragson, he's got to get over this, and he's got to move on to the next race.
Yeah, that's the best way to move forward. And yeah, it sucks having a win taken away like that. But sometimes things happen on the racetrack, and you can't avoid it. And you just gotta come to grips with the fact that he was in a bad place at a bad time. It happens.
The one thing is, this could come back to bite Gragson faster than he thinks. And I don't mean in the Xfinity Series. The next Cup Series race that Gragson could be running would be the spring race at Talladega coming up in a couple of months. He's going to run that with the 62 car, which ran with Brendan Gaughan for a long time. However, if the 66 of NBM Motorsports is on the entry blank for Talladega, since we're not doing practice and qualifying, the 66 will get the spot and the 62 will not, depending on how many cars show up. If it's more than 40 on that entry blank, the 66 would be in and the 62 would be out. Carl Long on social media mentioned that Gregson's actions do have consequences. It would be delicious irony if the 66 decides to show up at Talladega and then Gragson cannot get in the race because the 66 showed up. That would be a great way to get payback.
Yeah, and the thing about NASCAR is payback makes for great PR. So, just watch what you say, man, honestly.
Mm-hmm. And Michael, I'm not sure if you got a chance to see the incident, but if you did see it, what were your thoughts on it?
Again, just bad place to bad time. He was running the top. 13 is up there running the top as well. Blows a tire right in front of him. Bad place, bad timing. It's NASCAR. Stuff like this has happened before. It happens at the super speedways. It happens at regular mile and a half. I've seen times where drivers are in the lead and they cut a tire. Stuff like this happens.
That happened to Denny Hamlin at Brickyard 400. Was leading the race, cut a tire.
Exactly, and in motorsports, you have to prepare for the unexpected. And sometimes you actually can't prepare, so it's just one of those deals. It's one of the things you signed the contract for to get into the car to race for.
Yep. So when that incident happened, now they have to figure out, who's going to win this race. And Myatt Snider ends up picking up the win in that race. Career win number 1, survives 2 overtimes to do it. It's always cool to see a first-time winner, especially when you've known their parents. Marty Snider, been a long-time voice in NASCAR, currently works for NASCAR on NBC, but Myatt has worked hard trying to make a career at driving, and he's got this full-time deal with RCR in the Xfinity Series, and Michael, he's come through with 1 win already.
Yep, came through with a win. I'm pretty happy for him, and hey, it's an RCR car too. So, might be another thing that's contributing to their success of their Xfinity team. So, good,
the RCR,
good jobs all around.
Yes, the RCR Xfinity team has been improving over the last few years. You're exactly right.
So, maybe it's one of those deals where RCR is improving and they're improving as a whole. So I can't wait to see more of what they do for the remaining of the season.
It's going to be exciting to see. That Xfinity Series is wide open this year. And I know Austin Cindric is there and everyone's got the money on him, but you got AJ Allmendinger and Justin Haley that are running down there with Kaulig that has run well. You've got Myatt Snyder with the 2 car, Michael Annett, who's still there in the 1, or not in the 1, I'm sorry, in the, no, he is in the 1, I'm sorry. But anyway, Michael Annett is down there. You've got a lot of drivers.
I'm still
that can win
Ty
this championship.
Gibbs.
Well, Ty's not running for the full season, but still wild to end up picking up the win. Yeah, Michael Annett's in the 1. I don't know why I second guessed myself.
Yeah, I'm still liking Ty Gibbs. I'm still liking a lot of the Joe Gibbs drivers, Harrison Burton.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of talent in the Xfinity. Sometimes Xfinity is a lot more fun to watch than the Cup races. Sometimes.
That has become the case with the 550 horsepower package, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And that's something that hopefully gets fixed with the next gen car. But Xfinity has put on some great racing, and ever since they changed how Xfinity works with taking the Cup Series drivers, for the most part, out of the series, backing them out to only 5 races that they can run, it's allowed these young guys a chance to show what they can do behind the wheel and try to impress some of these Cup Series owners. And yeah, they learn a lot from the Cup Series guys, but you don't learn how to win when those guys are 8 seconds ahead of you. You know, it's all well and good you can learn their lines, but how's that helping you when they're 10 seconds away with their Cup crews pitting them in the Xfinity race and you're not? You know, you're only learning but so much. The only way you're really going to learn how to win is if you're competing for wins against guys of your similar talent level. And now the Xfinity series is mostly guys of a similar talent level. It's amazing that we can see that, hey, the youth in NASCAR is actually really good.
Yeah, a lot to look forward to, especially in terms of speed, family connections, and yeah, it's just really great to watch.
We'll see what the Xfinity Series can do at Las Vegas. They'll be running on Saturday. Brett Moffitt also had a great run going with our motorsports. He was actually chasing down Noah Gragson with a chance to win that race. Unfortunately, lost a tire. Actually, no, he got into the wall, then popped the tire, had to come pit. Tyler Reddick was pulling double duty, finished second, got that disqualified by a height infraction. So, unfortunately, the day doesn't look as good as it actually was on the racetrack for our motorsports. And that's something that we need to see in the sport, is more of these teams, these midfield teams, moving towards the front. We've seen Colic Racing build themselves up to they're one of the premier teams in Xfinity, and now planning a move up into the Cup Series. We see our motorsports improving. Junior Motorsports, started by Dale Earnhardt Jr., has become, a stalwart team in the Xfinity Series. We have these small Xfinity-only teams running well, and some of them are even expanding into the top level in going to the Cup Series, and that's good for the sport because that keeps the turnover of teams going well, because yes, we have the Spires and the Live Fast Motorsports and 2311 and Trackhouse right now. Some of those new teams may not make it. And then we have some established teams that may fall out. We need teams to be able to come up and fill that void. And if we don't have that, you start seeing a situation where the field starts getting smaller. But it looks like we're getting into a point with the next gen car coming that car count is starting to come up just a little bit.
Yep. Maybe we're gonna see a NASCAR increase the width of the field, not the width of the field, but the quantity of the field.
That would be
40 to like 43 or something like that.
That's what everyone would like to see, is the return of 43 car fields. And if we can get that back, that would make a lot of people happy. But we've got to make sure that we've got 43 strong cars and not just 20-something cars and then the rest are back markers, because that really doesn't work for anybody.
All right, we don't need field fillers back again.
No, because that did not help anyone. Although technically we have it with the open cars, but those guys are at least trying to finish all of the races. Although Rick Ware Racing, which would be one of those teams that people would call that a field filler team, they've got to find some speed because those cars not very fast, and we saw that again at Homestead Miami Speedway on Sunday in the Cup Series. So we're going to be right back. When we come back, we're going to talk some Cup Series action. Or not Cup Series, sorry. We're going to talk Formula One. Got some news from there, including a new paint scheme that we should have seen coming, and yet I'm not surprised. Or I'm not surprised. I'm not happy to see it. We're right back here on the Extra Mile on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Lopan, they didn't even want you. Heck, they didn't even want me. But you know what? Right about now, they have no choice. Looking for the real sports talk? Talk that's for us, the people? Look no further. The Wait a Minute Show, a prime time sports comedy cocktail that tucks you in at night. Join me and Lopan Wednesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the 2livestewsradio.com and Saturday 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the waitaminuteshow.com. Sounds like a plan to me. Ain't that right, Lopan?
Indeed.
What's up, everybody? This is Darren Rodriguez. Are you a fan of volleyball? Are you a fan of Thunder Spikes? Then I have the show for you. Set Point, where I cover NCAA men's and women's volleyball, high school boys and girls volleyball, beach volleyball, and even professional volleyball. Catch the action every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
I thought you said Mac Pappis. I'm like, wait, what?
Mike Pat has joined us in the chat. Mike, thank you so much for joining us this evening. We're back here in the Extra Mile on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We're going to get into some F1 news. Had some more livery updates, also some comments from some drivers we're going to get into. And we're going to start with the Aston Martin livery. Christopher does not like it, Michael. He says that they, quote-unquote, totally sold out. I really don't have a problem with it. It's, for the most part, the racing green with the little pink stripe for BWT along the trim. I think it looks good.
Yeah, I don't think it looks bad. Although like I was telling you before, I thought they should have went with a darker shade of green.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't look bad. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of pink and green either, or green and pink as in the case, but it's still not bad.
Yeah, we will see that scheme on the track soon. Hopefully it will run as well as it looks. I like it. The Alpine scheme is actually the best, with the black fading into the blue and red and white of the French flag at the back. That scheme looks absolutely incredible. And then the Mercedes scheme, the black with all the AMG lettering in it, it looks okay, but definitely does not look as good as the Batman cars from last season did. But we will.
Yeah, I feel like Mercedes was just like, hey, we don't mind your cars being black, but Mercedes silver, we kind of have to have some representation in there.
Sorry about that.
And then we have everyone's favorite new scheme.
Yep. let's go ahead and get into it. So, the Xfinity Series, or not Xfinity Series, sorry, HAAS F1 debuted a brand new scheme with the blue, red, and white of the Russian flag for their second driver, whose father owns the team. Or not really own, he might as well own the team, to be honest, with how much money he's putting in it, as now Eurocali HAAS F1 team. Drew the ire of a lot of people. Honestly, I'm not even upset. I'm not surprised. We knew this was coming. You know, the person in question, their father, is putting a lot of money into the team, and they get leeway on how the scheme is chosen. And I will say it does look good. I just wish the reason that was there and the driver from that country was a bit better of a person than what we've seen them be. I think that's how I will couch it.
Well said. Well said. I was just going to straight up say I hate it, but, you know.
I mean, I can't say I hate it. On the merits of it as a paint scheme, it doesn't look bad. It's just the person connecting you to it leaves a bad taste in your mouth. There's a difference, and I have to separate the paint scheme from the driver here, because the person that was told to design the livery doesn't deserve the hate because of the driver it's for. And unfortunately, that guy's gotten some hate on Twitter, and we shouldn't be doing that because it's not his fault.
Well said. Well said. You know, now that you say that, I don't necessarily hate. I hate who it's for, but I will admit it's not a bad paint scheme. But like I said, it's still gonna leave a bad taste in my mouth just because of who it's for. It's just, yeah, he who shall not be named.
And I understand that, and I understand that for a lot of people. A lot of people are not going to be able to separate paint scheme from driver, especially since it's that driver's nationality. And I've seen it on Twitter all day, people being upset and complaining that the HAAS F1 car is painted in that fashion. But they got to do what the check says. And if the check says paint it in this way, they got to paint it that way, because this team has needed money for a while. And the current sponsorship, Eurocali, is putting a lot of much needed funds into HAAS F1. We will see how it goes, of course. But,
well, they're not going to develop the car anymore, so it's just going to be there, honestly.
Well, people are upset about that, and that feels like, okay, they're hedging their bets on trying to leap ahead of people in 2022, because there's not much they can do to get that car even to the midfield. It would take far too much work to get it into the points. So I think it's smart just to say, okay, we're punting on the last year of this era of rules, regulations, and we're throwing everything into 2022. That way, they can jump back up there, leapfrog some teams that may have been working a little bit harder on this year's card than last, and possibly get back into the points and have a much stronger footing than if they tried to develop this rust bucket into a decent F1 car. So a lot of people have complained about that. I think it's a good idea, and to be honest, I think it's the only real shot they had, because that car was so woefully behind in 2021, it's not really worth the money to spend developing it into something decent.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's better just to kind of bite the bullet, run around at the back of the season, and maybe have a better shot next season. Mm-hmm. Which is another thing about a lot of these teams look like they are running the same car, just with like some slightly new parts. but more or less the same car. I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I get it. And there haven't been a lot of changes made to the 2021 cars, mainly due to the fact that they weren't supposed to be running these cars in 2021, but they weren't allowed to make a lot of changes due to sporting regulations. And since we're going into 2022, you really don't want to spend a whole lot of money developing such radically different car. So a lot of teams have decided not to do that.
A lot of guys are just using the same car, just slightly updated parts.
Yep.
So who knows? We might, now that I think about it, we might just see the same kind of story we did in 2020.
That would be unfortunate. I'm going to be honest, if that is the case. Unfortunately, realistically, that's probably what's going to happen with Mercedes continuing to dominate, except for the few days where they forget how to F1. That's just how it's been happening with this team. In the turbo hybrid era, they have dominated, and they're going to continue to dominate, it looks like, until the end of the era, at least with this rules package. Things could change in 2022, or they could not. We won't really know until we get those cars on the grid next season. But for this year, it really does feel like another Mercedes domination with a couple other teams picking up victories when Mercedes screws up, for lack of a better term.
I think what's going to make this season interesting is it's going to be, yes, it's going to be one of those seasons where you shouldn't look at Mercedes, like, the battle for first. You shouldn't even, concentrate on it. What's going to be interesting is the battle from second to fourth is what you're really going to look at. So you're going to look at Red Bull, you're going to look at McLaren, you're going to look at Aston Martin and Alpine. Those are the teams you're going to want to watch. Mercedes, they're going to be doing their own thing, but you're going to really want to watch, like, the constructors' battles throughout the rest of the season.
That Formula 1.5 that we like to call it, which is that battle between the teams that are not in the top three, Mercedes, Red Bull, and Ferrari, they tend to be exciting. Those cars tend to run close together on speed. And those are the battles you really have to watch during an F1 race, because unfortunately right now, the win's already decided. It's probably going to be Lewis Hamilton unless he has issues or the pit crew messes up. Sad to say that.
Or
but
somebody makes up a new rule where, you can't practice speeding. You can't practice starts here. But, well, that's a debate for a whole another day.
Yeah, that is a thing that was unfortunate. And I really think that the officials need to stay out of their own way on that. We will see what happens going into this season. We're still a bit of ways from the start of the Formula One season, but it really didn't look kosher, some of those calls, and they have to avoid looking like they are hobbling the points leader to try and make the show better. That draws some extreme negative connotations, especially when that champion also happens to be black and the most successful black race car driver that we know today.
Definitely. But other than that, I'm looking forward to the season. I'm looking forward to all of the changes the team's having. I'm just looking forward to just seeing how these new drivers are going to adapt to next year, honestly. This is basically just, a precursor to next year. And who knows, Darryl, maybe next year Mercedes might not be at the front.
It's possible. It's possible. This is a filler year, really, for a lot of motorsports that were planning to change cars. We know that NASCAR was supposed to have their next-gen car this year. That did not happen. IMSA has pushed back when they're going to develop, or not develop, but allow the Le Mans Daytona hypercars to appear due to what's gone on with the COVID-19 pandemic. There was a lot of changes in the racing industry that was supposed to happen this year that just won't due to what happened with the pandemic. And now those changes are coming next season. So it's opened up a place where we are in kind of a holding pattern where it's an extended year of these previous generation chassis because the teams don't have the monetary wherewithal or didn't have the time to properly prepare and test for the new regulations because we spent 8 weeks shut down due to the pandemic.
Yep, so basically this year is basically just catch up, honestly.
It's weird to say to have a gap year in motorsports, but that's really what it is to the furthest extent, that it's a gap year that we're all going through here, and we will have to eagerly wait until 2022 to see the new regulations for many series, including NASCAR and Formula One, in action. So, before we move on to the preview for Las Vegas and nearest the win, some interesting comments by the Aston Martin drivers where Sebastian Vettel feels like they can aim for podiums while Stroll aiming for at least 5 top 5s this season. A lot of big talk out of that team, a lot of confidence, but Michael, what percentage chance do you put on it that actually happens?
They have a decent chance for podiums. If you remember last year, Perez and Stroll were running really well up at the front for a while. They were right behind Mercedes because, they were the pink Mercedes. Mm-hmm. But if that trend still goes the same, I think they're going to do well. The car is relatively the same, so I think they're going to have a good chance. If Mercedes messes up, maybe they can even score the win. If a lot of teams are keeping the cars the way they were last year, because at the end of last year, Perez got a win, so they're still on the table.
Unfortunately, that win for Perez did come under circumstances, again, where Mercedes wasn't at their best, but Aston Martin could be extremely successful this season if the lessons that they learned from last year can be brought into this year effectively. Now, it depends on how much work they decide to do on the car compared to working towards 2022, but it could be a good season. I'm not sure if they can get on the podium. They had to really design their own chassis this year because they don't have the pink Mercedes this year. The FIA nipped that in the butt before this season. So we'll see how Aston Martin performs designing their own car. It's a lot harder designing your own car than it is taking notes from the guys that are also selling your engines.
Right.
So this week for NASCAR, we are coming into Las Vegas as we get ready for nearest the win. 2 trouble spots on this track are going to be turn 2 and turn 4. Turn 1's got a lot of bumps there on the lower lane, which if you hit those bumps wrong, you get to the weight transfer. Turn 2 could send you around. Turn number 4 has been treacherous ever since they've done the repave here. This track does have progressive banking, but if the car is extremely loose, it's going to be on exit, and these drivers are going to feel it all race long. Now we got to decide who's going to win this thing, Michael. I have no idea who to pick here. I'm going to go for last year's winner, Joey Logano, but the way things have gone here in the first few races of the season, who knows what's going to happen?
Honestly, I'm kind of at a crossroads. I don't know who to pick.
While you decide who you're going to pick, Christopher is going to go with Alex Bowman this week. He's got Alex Bowman or Ryan Blaney, one of those two. We're going to go, we have to pick one, so I'll go Bowman for him this week. Michael, who do you have?
I'm gonna go with Keselowski. Because why not?
So we both got the Penske duo, or I guess two of the Penske trio, going for the win this season. Anna Hendrick Motorsports car with Alex Bowman. And hey guys, if you want to participate in Nearest the Win, make sure you tweet Nearest the Win with who you think's going to win this week in Las Vegas. Now we get ready to get out of here. Thank you, Michael, so much for joining me tonight. Remember, guys, make ssure you follow all the iSports Radio social media pages on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Michael's at Michael_Ward25. I'm at DK Jr. 12. Christopher is at Fiji Sims. Make sure you give us a follow on Twitter as well. And hit up the website, www.iesportsradio.com. And remember, if you've missed any episode of any iSports Radio show, they can be heard wherever podcast can be listened to. So, with that being said, my name is Darryl Kinsey Jr. For Michael Ward. This has been The Extra Mile, and we will see you at the next green flag. Good night, everybody.